The War Council chamber fell silent when Commander Threckvoll slammed his primary manipulator against the tactical display. 47 species, 47 civilizations represented in this room, and not one of them wanted to admit what we all knew. One human had just destroyed our entire forward base. Unobservable. This is absurd. Chancellor Vamora hissed, her scales rippling with indignation. A single primitive mammal cannot possibly have eliminated 3,000 soldiers, 16 atmospheric fighters, and our most advanced defensive grid. But he had. His name was Marcus Kane. We knew that much because he'd told us. Actually, no, that's not quite accurate. He'd broadcast it on every frequency we monitored, right before he turned our proud 6th Battalion into a very expensive pile of scrap metal and regret. I should back up. 3 cycles ago, the Galactic Sovereignty decided that humanity needed to be educated. You know how it goes. New species shows up, thinks they're special, refuses to pay the standard protection fees. We'd done this dance with dozens of worlds. Show overwhelming force, occupy a minor settlement, wait for capitulation. Simple, clean, profitable. Terra's governing body responded to our demands with 2 words that our translators struggled with for several minutes before spitting out, "Get lost." Well, that wouldn't do. We sent the 6th Battalion to a human outpost called Firebase Kestrel. Population roughly 800 military personnel, 2,000 civilians. The plan was textbook. Land establish superiority. Accept surrender. Maybe rough up a few locals if they got mouthy. Standard procedure. What we didn't account for was Marcus Kane. According to the reports, and I've read them so many times I can recite them in my sleep, Kane wasn't even supposed to be there. He was what do humans call it? A logistics officer. Something boring involving supply chains and inventory management. Not exactly warrior material. But when our ships descended and the rest of Firebase Kestrel evacuated through their underground tunnels, Marcus Kane stayed behind. Alone. Perhaps he was simply slow? Offered Ambassador Quillix, his optimism as pathetic as ever. Or confused. I pulled up the first surveillance footage. Does he look confused to you? The hologram showed a human male, average height for his species, standing in the middle of the base's central courtyard. He was drinking something from a small container. Coffee, the file notes said. A stimulant beverage. He finished it, crushed the container in one hand, and tossed it aside. Then he smiled directly at our drone cameras. Attention, Galactic Sovereignty forces. His voice crackled through the recording. My name is Marcus Kane. Serial number 2847 Delta November. I am the acting commander of Firebase Kestrel. You are trespassing on human territory. You have 30 seconds to withdraw or I will be forced to defend this installation. The War Council erupted in clicking, hissing laughter. One human, defending an entire military base, against 3,000 of the galaxy's finest soldiers. The laughter died pretty quickly. Kane didn't have fancy weapons. He didn't have powered armor or energy shields or any of the technological marvels we'd expected from a species bold enough to reject our authority. What he had was intimate knowledge of every pipe, wire, support beam, and structural weakness in Firebase Kestrel, and apparently, a truly disturbing sense of humor. The first squad entered the main barracks. Standard breach protocol. 12 soldiers, full combat loadout, thermal imaging, motion sensors. They made it exactly 4 meters inside before every door in the building locked simultaneously and the fire suppression system activated. But it wasn't water that came pouring from the ceiling. Kane had rerouted the base's entire fuel supply into the suppression system. Then he'd added an accelerant. Then, because he's apparently insane, he'd rigged the emergency lighting to spark. 12 soldiers. Gone. Just like that. The recording caught his voice again, echoing through the base's PA system. 1188 to go. I'm actually enjoying my coffee break, so take your time sending the next group. He was. We could see him on the cameras sitting in the command center, feet up on the tactical console sipping another cup of that earth beverage. Smiling. Commander Zal, furious at the loss of his forward team, sent in 50 soldiers. 50. Heavily armed, wearing full combat exoskeletons, equipped with plasma cutters to bypass any locked doors. They never made it to the command center. Kane had spent the previous night, completely alone, rigging every corridor with improvised explosives made from mining charges, meant for asteroid processing, not just random placement either. Oh no, This mad human had calculated blast patterns, weight distribution, structural integrity points. He brought down 3 entire sections of the base on top of them. The survivors, and there weren't many, retreated directly into what our scans showed was an empty storage bay. It wasn't empty. Kane had filled it with pressurized coolant canisters, then superheated the room. The explosion took out another 24 soldiers and punched a hole clear through to the surface. Is he laughing? Vimora leaned closer to the hologram. He was. Kane's voice came through again. You know what's funny? I actually failed tactical assessment in officer training. Twice. They told me I was too creative, too unpredictable, said I'd never make a proper soldier. A pause. And I guess they were right. The next wave tried aerial assault. 16 atmospheric fighters, state-of-the-art, equipped with precision targeting systems that could identify and eliminate a target from 3 kilometers away. Kane shot them all down with the base's weather monitoring satellites. Let me repeat that, because I still don't believe it and I watched the footage. He hacked into meteorological equipment designed to measure wind speed and humidity, and somehow converted them into kinetic weapons platforms. The satellites were basically metal boxes with sensors, but this human, this supposedly non-combat logistics officer, turned them into ship killers. 14 fighters down in the first pass, the remaining 2 tried to retreat. He got them anyway. This is impossible. Zol's voice on the recording, stripped of all its earlier confidence. This is one primitive. One, how is he? The transmission cut off when Kane collapsed the command ship's landing platform, with Zol still on it. That's when the Sovereignty made its biggest mistake. We sent everyone. 2,200 soldiers converged on Firebase Kestrel simultaneously. Every entrance, every weak point, overwhelming force from all directions at once. Marcus Kane was waiting, and he'd made lunch. Good afternoon, gentlemen, ladies, and assorted biological configurations. His voice boomed across every speaker. I hope you're all hungry, because I've prepared something special. The southern perimeter team breached first. They found the base's entire food storage converted into a weapon. Fermentation tanks normally used to process ration supplements had been rigged to produce methane gas. Lots of it. When the soldiers' plasma rifles discharged in the enclosed space, well, let's just say the explosion was visible from orbit. The Eastern Assault Force tried tunneling under the perimeter walls. Smart, right? Avoid the obvious traps, come up from below. Kane had predicted that. Of course he had. He'd spent his second night alone flooding the underground maintenance tunnels with industrial adhesive, the kind used to seal hull breaches in spacecraft. It hardens on contact with air. 200 soldiers, stuck, literally glued in place beneath the base. Then he activated the base's geothermal heating system. I won't describe what happened next. The screams were bad enough on the recordings. You know what I love about logistics. Kane's voice again, still cheerful, still drinking his coffee. You learn where everything is. Every resource, every tool, every single thing that can be repurposed from boring to deadly. The Western Front tried orbital bombardment, just leveled the entire base from space. But Kane had already thought of that too. He'd moved the base's reactor core into the civilian evacuation tunnels, the ones that still had thousands of non-combatants fleeing through them. The message was clear: destroy the base, kill everyone, and explain to the galaxy why the mighty Sovereignty slaughtered unarmed refugees. We couldn't do it, so we kept sending soldiers into his killing field. The War Council chamber was silent now, watching the timeline unfold. Hour after hour of systematic destruction. Kane didn't just fight, he orchestrated. He improvised. He turned every single system in Firebase Kestrel into a weapon. Water purification became acid spray. Gravity plating became crushing traps. Medical nanites became corrosive swarms. Communication arrays became sonic weapons that liquefied internal organs. And through it all, Marcus Kane kept talking. Wave 17. Really? You'd think someone would have suggested retreat by now. Oh, nice try with the EMP. Unfortunately, I've been running on manual systems since hour 3, but I appreciate the creativity. Fun fact, did you know standard issue combat boots melt at 400 degrees? You do now. He wasn't just killing us, he was humiliating us. By hour 36, we'd lost over 1,900 soldiers. The survivors were refusing orders. Actual mutiny. battle-hardened warriors who'd conquered dozens of worlds, refusing to enter a single human base defended by a single human. That's when High Command made the call. Withdraw. Complete. Total. Withdrawal. We pulled every ship, every soldier, every piece of equipment from human space, and we received one final transmission from Marcus Kane. He was sitting in the ruined command center, surrounded by debris and scorch marks, holding his coffee cup like nothing unusual had happened. "Hey, before you go." His tone was friendly, conversational, like he was chatting with neighbors. "I want you to take a message back to your leadership. Write this down. It's important." He leaned forward, smiled directly into the camera. "Tell them that I'm just one guy. One human. A failed tactical officer who shuffles supply requisitions for a living, and I just held off your entire invasion force for a day and a half using stuff I found lying around a medium-sized outpost." His smile widened. "Now imagine what happens when you meet the humans who actually know what they're doing." The transmission ended. The War Council chamber remained silent for a long time after the footage finished. Finally, Vimora spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "What do we do?" I looked around at the assembled representatives. 47 species. Thousands of years of combined military experience, conquest, domination, subjugation. And we were terrified of one human with a coffee addiction and too much creativity. "We vote," I said quietly. "All in favor of adding humanity to the Untouchable Species list." 47 manipulators raised simultaneously. Not a single objection. 3 days later, the Galactic Sovereignty issued formal apologies to Earth's governing bodies. We paid reparations, we opened trade negotiations on their terms, we did everything short of complete capitulation, and we spread the word. Every species, every civilization, every corner of known space. There's a new rule now, an unspoken understanding that travels faster than light across the galaxy. Don't fight humans. Not because they have superior technology, not because they have larger fleets or better weapons, but because somewhere out there, on some random human world, there might be another Marcus Kane, another supposedly ordinary human who'll turn coffee breaks into strategic assets and office supplies into weapons of mass destruction. I've reviewed the Firebase Kestrel incident 742 times, and I still can't fully comprehend what I witnessed. One human, alone against an army, and he won, not through strength, not through advanced weaponry, but through sheer terrifying laughing defiance. The last report I received said Marcus Kane returned to his logistics duties. He got a promotion, some medals, then went right back to managing supply chains and inventory, like nothing happened. That might be the scariest part. Somewhere in human space right now, there are billions of Marcus Kanes, living ordinary lives, doing ordinary jobs, drinking their coffee, and shuffling their paperwork. Ordinary. Until they're not. Sleep well, council members. I know I won't.